Thanks for coming tonight, and welcome to our nutrition and MD session with NMD United's virtual university. Tonight we are going to talk about weight loss, weight gain, and just overall nutrition and health. I'd like to introduce you guys to our two speakers for tonight, Alana Terrio and Rachel Markley. I will let them pretty much introduce themselves and kind of talk a little bit about what they're going to present tonight. And if you guys have, take care of yourselves, obviously, keep yourselves muted when the speakers are talking. I promise I'll shut up. And then we'll have questions along the way. So I really appreciate you coming. If you do have a question, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, just so we, get to know everybody a little bit. Thanks for everything. And I'm going to leave it to these ladies to introduce themselves. Appreciate you coming.
Okay, maybe I'll just start. It'd be really good if people use the raise hand feature in the participants window, and that would be helpful. My name is Alana Terrio, and I am going to try and facilitate this talk because my co-teacher is the expert in nutrition, and I just have some personal experience with a lot of food prep and managing independent living and eating well. So I'm going to leave it at that. Rachel, you want to take over and then?
So I have this instructions slide, but because there is a wonderful large amount of us, we decided to not, we didn't want to take up the whole hour with introductions, and we did briefly discuss your food goal. So again, my name is Rachel Markley. So I'm a little more I don't want to say technical, because Alana knows just as much as I do, but I guess I have the scientific background in nutrition. I'm not a dietitian. I didn't feel the need to do a year's unpaid internship, so that's primarily why I didn't do that. But I do have a degree of a bachelor's in nutrition, and then a master's in health behavior and health promotion. So getting people to eat better is one of my things that I love to do, and I recognize that this is very, very difficult for us. So I would like to say, and I'm sure Alana would agree, that whether you lose weight or gain weight, both are equally hard. I don't think any of us would argue that. So we decided to go with weight management, rather than saying weight loss or weight gain. We're just going to give you some tips and guidance to maintaining or, what is a healthy weight for you. And that is going to be different for all of us. We can definitely say that. So first we're going to start off with just some calorie needs for those of us with neuromuscular disorders. So I actually did some research specifically for this hangout. I worked on a project up until the beginning of this month on weight management for women with mobility impairments, but it was across the board. So I decided to specifically look up calorie needs for those of us with neuromuscular diseases. Interestingly enough, there is a scarce but well done research for those with limb-girdle NMD and Duchenne's, but that's only up till age 20. So we know a lot about kids. This is something that's not unusual to see for neuromuscular disease. They study kids, and because there's, I believe, more funding to get that research conducted. So, unfortunately, after that, we're just left up to our own devices. So there are links in here. I'm not going to stop the slideshow and share them tonight, but we will post the slides to a Dropbox later, so you can definitely check out these links. I have a couple different calculations. So the first one here, I brought it up to my coworkers when we were working on our project, It's not overly scientific. It is based on 2 well-researched concepts, but this particular site is not, a reviewed site, but it uses the basic equations that do have scientific backing. So BMR is your basal metabolic rate, and it's basically the energy that you use every day to breathe, to pump blood, just to exist. So it uses that and this Harris-Benedict equation, which is super fancy and no one needs to know how to do unless you're a nutritionist. And I don't even use it, but it calculates the number of calories that you need per day. I personally have calculated this, and for me, I do believe that it's a fairly decent calculation. It allows you, unlike some, to choose that you do 0 minutes of physical activity a day, which is pretty, I like. So I wanted to include that on here. Dr. Svoboda, you may be familiar with that name if you have SMA. I believe she is just a neurologist that specializes in SMA. And she recommends 7 to 11 calories per centimeter of height. And I've also calculated that. These two, for me, are fairly similar. And I do think they're both pretty good. However, as with most things, there's pros and cons. These calculators are very, very difficult for us because anything that you use mainstream it just doesn't apply. Like most things for us, we're anomalies, they don't know what to do with us. So a couple of things I want to bring up here that I think apply when you're talking about calorie needs. Ventilation is a huge one. And when I looked up the research that I did for this hangout, it's actually mentioned more than you would think. There's a lot of case studies, so just focusing on one individual. So those don't get a lot of strong scientific points because usually you need a larger sample, but they do exist, and it's very interesting. If you have assisted ventilation, it seems that your calorie needs are like a little bit lower because if you're working too hard to breathe, you're burning a lot of those calories. So that's something to keep in mind if you use assisted ventilation, or if you're sick maybe and you're just not breathing well for a short period of time. Also, ambulation obviously is one. There is some research for other mobility impairments that just the simple aspect of transferring yourself, if you still can, but it is difficult to do, that's going to use a lot of calories because it's harder work to just move around. So even if you do have a lot of mobility, even arm movement, it's going to maybe take you more effort than the average person to lift a water bottle to your mouth or do whatever. And then again, some people may say that it balances out, like, well, you don't move, but it takes you a lot of energy to get a drink. I mean, who knows? So there's not great research out there. I would like to say there is more coming, but I don't know. So I'm gonna let Alana do this next part, talk about just a couple other approaches and open it up a little to what you all do. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so we can see each other a little bit better.
Okay, the next thing that we were gonna get into is how people assess what their individual calorie needs are. We know that a lot of the tools that Rachel's talking about, or the calculators and things, don't necessarily apply to people in our physical situation. So a lot of times we really also need to focus on more our nutrient needs than our calorie needs, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought it might be helpful right now to do a quick go round to find out if anybody in the group has a pretty good sense of, one, how many calories you need a day to be healthy or to meet your goals? And what nutrients are you doing well with, and which nutrients are you struggling with? If we can open that up, if someone wants to share their experience with that, that would be great. You want to unmute people, Emily? Maybe that would help.
So I can't, if you could raise your hand, that would help me if you do want to share. Raise your hand and then I will unmute you and you can, share. Does that sound good? While I'm waiting for hands oh, okay, TK, go ahead.
I was going to say, using the formula that Rachel just gave us, I did a quick calculation. I went, because the range is 7 to 11 calories per centimeter. So in the chat, you had provided the 30 calories per centimeters per foot. So I don't even know how tall I am, but I'm kind of short, so I figured 4 feet. So, and I went with just the middle point of the caloric range. And I came up with almost 1,100 calories. I'm sure I eat more than that. So maybe I'm taller and I don't know it. But my health, my weight stays stable. So I don't know. I just kind of try to pay attention to my body. If I feel like I need food, I eat more. Other days I just don't eat that much. So.
Is there anybody else in your group who's actually kept track of what they've eaten for a period of time and notice how it affects you, et cetera, et cetera?
I've done a lot of, I've been trying to lose weight on and off for a few years, and I downloaded the Lose It app and set my calorie goal at, I did it at different times at different amounts, but I found that the point that worked the best for me was 800. And that was when I actually started to see results. Right now, a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago, I went to Jenny Craig, and I went into their center and was trying to see if I could get some help. And they presented me with a 1,200 a day calorie thing. And they were very insistent that I could do nothing. I could do absolutely no movement whatsoever, according to them. And I would lose weight on the 1,200 calorie a day plan. And the minute I got home with their shit ton of food and started eating it, I realized I was like way overeating, like more than I usually do. And there was no way I was going to lose weight on 1,200 a day. There was just no way. And so I scaled it down, and I'm not following their program, and I spent all this money for pretty much nothing. But because I feel like I really don't think that that's the right, I understand. I think there's a weird balance, and I think that the nutrition part is important, and that's kind of what Jenny Craig provides, because they force you to eat like servings of fruits and servings of vegetables, and they keep your sodium levels low and stuff like that. So I think there's some benefits, but I think they make you eat too much food for our situation. So.
Okay, who else? Who else has had experience?
Crystal, I'll unmute you, Crystal. Oh, here you go.
Hi. I have been tracking everything I eat. When I just calculated off the other thing, it said my calorie goal should be, if you're going by 7 calories per centimeter, 1,190. So I use the My Plate app. I've used it for years. Livestrong runs it, and calculate off of that. I have it set to 1,200, but most days I find I'm only eating between 700 and 900 calories, and I'm fine. I'm not hungry. I do eat a lot of vegetables, which of course are low calorie. Yeah, I'm on the ketogenic diet, which is why I have to track every gram of carbs I eat. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I find that I'm fine at 800 and I'm losing weight.
Anybody else?
I have a question. Emma, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
So Emily, you said 800 calories a day, and Crystal, you said, you could do around 800 calories a day as well. How tall are you?
I'm 5'7".
Emily?
I'm 5. I would say 5. I don't really know how tall I am. I'm thinking it's 5.
Right, I don't really know my exact height either, but that just seems really low, 800 calories. I was just wondering if that seems to be pretty much the norm for everyone, around 800 calories.
Well, I'll speak from the other end as someone who is trying to gain weight. I'm about 4'10". I weigh 60 pounds. And I realized I needed first to figure out my subsistence intake. What do I need to survive? And I realized I am a ventilator user. I barely move. I don't walk. I don't lift things. For me, I really need between 900 and 950 calories a day to keep my weight, to survive, basically. And the way I figured that out was I went to a food calculator. I used the USDA super tractor, and I set my goals, etc. It's there. And basically, I used the tracker to even understand how much calories I was eating, and I knew I was surviving on. And of course, we have bad weeks, we have good weeks, we have days that we eat a lot, days we know we don't eat enough. So, the average is out over time. That's how I figured out my number. But the most important thing to me was being worried about nutrients. And I knew I'm always slightly anemic, so I knew I needed better iron intake. I also knew that I struggle with potassium, and I know other people in this group struggle with potassium as well, and it's very, very hard to eat enough potassium for anybody. Vitamin D intake was also a problem, and those are my big ones. So I started looking at foods that were richer in those nutrients and realized that generally I really sucked at eating fruit. And wow, I ate fruit maybe twice a week. So I realized that was something I had to pay more attention to. And just eating fruit increased my vitamin C, it increased my potassium. I mean, there was a lot of really neat things I saw. Just taking time, not trying to reach a goal, but examining what do I actually eat and how do I feel and what are my blood tests telling me. So I was wondering if anybody else had any experiences with nutrient goals, like, or is anybody trying to get more calcium in their diet or things like that? Nancy, I know you've struggled with potassium. What are you doing to get your potassium every day? And what happens if you don't? That kind of thing. I would love to hear some of those stories as well. Anybody? Are we all being shy?
I can talk a little bit to this. I can't say that I've particularly broken it down by nutrient, just because I really like to focus more on just getting like vegetables, fruits of a variety. So I don't necessarily look at nutrients just because I have a hard enough time gaining weight, much less breaking it down by every little nutrient. So, but I will say to those of you that were talking about 800 calories, I think that probably for the two of you that mentioned that, to lose weight, that's probably where you would be at. However, I would be concerned about getting adequate nutrients at 800 calories just because, well, food has calories. And if you're getting everything that you need, I would be concerned. To me, for your height, that seems low. For instance, I'm Alana's height and weight twin, apparently, and we're the same height and the same weight. I would like to be 65 to 70. That's kind of my goal. That's where I feel healthiest. But I think that I've lost weight in the last year, but I've eaten better as far as nutrients. And I think I feel usually just more energetic when I eat right. And I have a lot of food sensitivities as well. So when I eat the things that don't make my stomach upset, and I eat things that are good for me. I just feel better. I sleep better, and just kind of like an average person when they eat better. But when I'm at a better weight, I also feel better, and I think it does definitely affect pressure points and things like that as well. So for me, that's what I'm working on now. I think I have some positioning issues, and I think it's from a weight loss issue. So yeah, but as far as nutrients, I think I just try to get a variety. Like Alana said with fruit, I'm like that with vegetables. So I eat plenty of fruit. I'm not a big vegetable person, so I have to really force myself to eat those veggies.
Crystal was going to ask a question or say something, so I'm going to lower her hand and let her go at it.
Okay. You all set? Okay. For me, I have a lot of potassium issues. That's why I'm in the hospital right now. But like I said, I went on a ketogenic diet. My reasoning was because the carbohydrates is one of my big triggers that lowers my potassium. So if I keep my carbs under 20 grams a day, I've kept myself out of the hospital for 9 weeks up until this point. And I only ended up in because of respiratory complications causing the potassium issues. But I eat really well. Most of my carb intake is from vegetables. And then I replace milk with almond milk or coconut milk. And I replace my flours with almond flour or coconut flour, and use MCT oils or coconut oil for cooking. I use protein powder a lot as well, which certain types, I get it from GNC, are loaded with nutrition. So on top of all the vegetables and meat I eat, I get that extra boost with the protein powder. I also have gastroparesis, so my stomach doesn't empty. So it's useful to do like one meal a day as protein powder versus solid foods. And that's how I keep the balance. But with the vegetables being, I'll be full, but they're low carb or low calorie, which is why when I eat 800, I'm still fine because I'm eating good calories, not junk food.
So, Rachel, I was wondering if you would talk about some specific nutrients, such as fiber, the difference between the different types of fiber. Can you talk about some of the nutrients that wheelchair users really struggle with getting? And a lot of us have difficulty chewing and swallowing. Can you talk about those nutrients and maybe some creative ways to get those in?
Before she does that, I'm sorry, I don't know if everybody can see who's got their hand up, but TK's had his hand up for quite a while. Do you mind if I let him ask his question really quick? Are you guys okay with that? Okay.
I guess you can talk.
All right.
Actually, it wasn't quite a while. I was just trying to warn people that the Super Tracker website that Alana mentioned, I put it in the chat section so you can easily find it. It's really addictive. It's really fascinating, and you have to kind of play with entering your information in, because I do think it probably results with suggesting that I eat more calories than I really need to. When I was using it, I felt like it was just too much. But the information you learn about, the nutrients from different food categories is fascinating, and if you're, you can easily fall down that rabbit hole. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
So thank you, TK. I just wanted to say that, and maybe I'm crazy, and I know you guys are going to segue into fiber, but and maybe this is, it's not exactly like polite, but I really think that poop tells you a lot about what you're eating. And I noticed, like, although I'm not sticking to the Jenny Craig program, I have lost a little bit of weight, and I think a lot of that has had to do with the fact that I'm starting to incorporate kind of more fiber-rich foods and more like nutrients into my world. And I'm noticing that my digestion is improving incredibly, and I'm having these like wonderful poops in the morning. Like and I don't mean to get too gross, but they're, they're a nice shape. they're all together. Like it's really nice. It goes quickly. I can go to the bathroom and it's all in one shot. I don't, sorry, but I think even the color is different. I'm noticing differences in it. And so I'm thinking that this has to do with what I'm eating, and I think that's a sign of something going right. And so I've been kind of like, part of my diet motivation has been with looking at my morning poop. And I know this is so gross, but it's like, I feel like if I eat an apple a day, and if I have my salad, and like the goal is to get to the next morning and see what happens. Oh God, I'm kind of embarrassed. But anyway, I'm going down like this rabbit hole of disgusting. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that.
Let's have Rachel explain the soluble and insoluble fibers and the things that result in good poops.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Or not your post. Sorry, I was looking at something. Your comment about poop made me think there is actually on our website for work that we have the Bristol stool chart, and that's basically, it's like a 1 through 10 pictures of poop and what it tells you about your health and your diet. So it's a real thing. You're right on it. You were just tracking it yourself. See, there you go, your own science experiment. But okay, so as far as nutrients, I would definitely say that the first one that would come to mind for me for NMD would be fiber. That's going to be the first thing. We don't move a lot, if any. And most of us, from multiple Living with MD posts over the last however many 5 years, there's a lot of talk about poop and what we do to get things moving. And so fiber is going to help that. So as Alana referenced, there are 2 types of fiber. There's soluble and insoluble, and you need both in your diet. So soluble and insoluble, when you think about it real basic, soluble dissolves or swells when it's put into water. So a good example is oatmeal. It soaks up the water. That's what makes it not, I don't like raw oatmeal, so that's what makes it not disgusting to me. So that softness is usually what we mean soluble. So beans, fruits, oats, some other grains are really good sources of soluble fiber, and then insoluble doesn't dissolve in water. The opposite. And it's not easily broken down in your GI tract, so it increases your poop bulk, basically. It's what makes sure your poop. So it's all important, and you need a mix of both. Most plants will have both, and vegetables especially, and then whole grains are what have your insoluble fiber. And when you think about the reason that you want whole grains over white bread, rice, etc., they keep I think it's called the husk. I can see the picture, but they keep it on there rather than breaking it off, and that's like the hard part of the wheat, and that's what makes it insoluble. So that's what is going to help you. I think of it as like sweeping out your system too. Like it goes in there, and I picture it just sweeping out the walls of your intestine. But definitely that's a reason to get a variety of vegetables. It's your fiber intake, and they're low calorie for those of you that are trying to lose weight. So I just don't like them. I know I'm a horrible nutritionist, but I'm just not a vegetable person. And so as Alana was mentioning, most of us have trouble like chewing and swallowing most vegetables and some fruits. It's actually going to be this whole blog post at work, and they wouldn't let me put what I wanted because it was too NMD specific and not cross mobility impairments. So very sad. But I had some great tips that we put together in our Facebook group, and I was gonna use those one around. So some tips, is cooking the vegetables. You don't want to overcook them because they do lose their nutrients. Unfortunately, for some of us, that's just the best way to get them. So I figured, getting them with a few less nutrients is better than not getting them at all. But trying to cook them so that they're soft enough for us to easily eat and chew, but not soggy, not overdone. Mixing them in things is my favorite way to do it. Just mixing them in healthy sauces, other foods that are maybe softer, blending. A lot of people blend. I'm drinking a smoothie right now, so that's a good way to get your fruits, vegetables, really all nutrients, from those things. Mix it all together. I think it tastes great.
So,
and go ahead.
We're getting pretty short on time.
Yes,
Do you mind if I move you along here?
that is fine.
Okay, I know you have a beautiful slide about fats and carbohydrates, because we're kind of segueing into that anyway, like the type of nutrients. Do you want to start talking about that?
Just to let you guys know, there's a hand up. Elizabeth has her hand up at this point. She raised it while Rachel was talking. Go ahead.
Okay, so is there a cooking method that leaves the most amount of nutrients in vegetables? And my mom will roast vegetables in the oven most of the time, and that's my favorite way to eat them because they're really good that way. But I don't know, is that better or worse than steaming or?
So steaming, there's usually a really fine line between crisp and mush. I find, that's just my personal opinion. I typically roast mine. That's how I eat almost all my vegetables. Partly that's a taste preference, but it also does keep most of the nutrients. Microwaving is probably the worst that you can do, I would say. Not that I don't microwave some of my veggies, but that's just, and I know, steaming, what is the other method that people, grilling. I like to grill my vegetables sometimes. So we have some suggestions coming in on chat. So if you want to read those, I'm not going to read them for sake of time, but go ahead, read those. I'm going to very, very quickly give just two things on my nutrient slide, and then we can move on to that. Okay, so here I have some things. By the way, all these things on the right are 200 calories. So it's just talking about what 200 calories gets you. I always find this slide a little humbling. So, but on to just real quick, vitamin absorption and some things that may help or hinder. I'm gonna do this real fast. But fat soluble, so your vitamins A, E, D, and K have to be taken or eaten with some sort of fat, or they will not do anything in your system. Sometimes people forget that. But eating a really great salad that doesn't have any fat, all those nutrients are going to go to waste because they're just not going to absorb. Well, it's the fat soluble nutrients. And then there's iron. There's several types of iron. There's plant-based versus animal-based. And these are two very different things. Vitamin C will enhance your iron absorption. So if you are taking iron, taking it with orange juice is a great way to get that absorption moving. Vitamin D and calcium, two other things that need to be taken together in order to absorb correctly. Calcium myths that calcium only comes from milk. It comes from all sorts of things. I believe it was Crystal that mentioned almond milk. I only drink almond milk because I'm lactose intolerant. It has a lot more calcium than cow's milk. So just a little thing there. Iron and calcium bind to the same, they have the same bond, and so they kind of compete with each other. So you don't want to take your iron and your calcium, whether you're eating it or taking a supplement, you don't want to take those together because they can interfere with each other's absorption. So maybe, drink your almond milk for breakfast and eat your chicken at dinner, just as an example. Very quick one. Tea, there is a chemical called tannins in tea that inhibits absorption of almost every vitamin. So do not, if you take a multivitamin, take it with tea. Just don't do anything. So I will move on to my fats and carbs slide. So there's a big discussion and has been since the 70s about fats and carbs. And in the 70s, it started that fat was evil. You didn't want to eat fat. You were going to die if you ate fat. The only way to lose weight was to not eat fat. So then we switched to all carbs. We're going to cut down our fat. We're going to eat all these carbs. Well, then people realized, hey, that makes you gain weight too. So then we're going to, just switch, and we're going to do the low carb and no carb diets, because we realized along the way, fats aren't as bad as we thought. We need them. So this is basically, there's the food industry got involved here, but I won't get into that. That's just a pet peeve of mine that I've researched. But it's basically the search for the magic bullet. We all want that magic bullet that will either, for us, make us gain weight, make us lose weight. It doesn't exist. I'm sorry. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So it's just been this back and forth. I want to say that we need fat and we need carbs. We absolutely need them both. And people forget that when you say carbs are not just bread. They're vegetables. They're fruits. It's all carbs. So we definitely need both. Again, I have some links here that you can click on. There are 3 types of fat. One of those is broken down into 2 other types. So saturated is your fat. You're basically going to find in meats, animal food sources. That's the fat you want to have the least amount of. It's not that it's bad. It's just that it is the one that will raise cholesterol, can lead to heart disease. So just keep it on the low side. Unsaturated fats, there's monounsaturated, polyunsaturated. We don't really get into that. Tonight I can tell you more if you want, but for the sake of time, I won't get into that. Those are usually your plant-based fats, and they're excellent for you. So for instance, an avocado has an obscene amount of fat if you looked at it on a food label, but it's all really good fat that you need. And so we think of those as like, if the food label says 40 grams of fat, then it must be awful. But that's not always the case. You really want to look at that breakdown and see, is this from a healthy fat? Is this from a non-healthy fat? Balance your fats. But if you're going to eat fat, opt more for those unsaturated avocado, olive oil, things like that. Trans fats are what we came up with when we decided that animal fat was bad. Unfortunately, trans fats were worse. So the food industry, now they're not allowed to make things with trans fats. They're trying very hard to phase them out because they found out they are much, much worse for us than a steak, for instance. So I have a little breakdown here of fats and carbs and the percent of your calories that they should be. Fats, the general rule is 20 to 30. I would say for us, because most of us don't eat as many calories as the average person, keeping this at the lower end is probably a good idea. Same with carbs, just keeping it, but again, carbs include your, fruits, vegetables, all those lovely things. So if you want to eat all fruits and vegetables for a meal, that's beautiful. Do that. I applaud you. And the rest of your calories would come from protein, which, keep in mind, also typically has fat if you're a carnivore. I won't get into a protein rant because we don't have time for that. But we may need more protein. The average American probably does not. So any questions about fats or carbs? I know I saw some chats come in, so I didn't want to.
I have a very, very, very quick question. We
Yes.
talked earlier about when you cook vegetables, you lose some of the nutrients. If you cook vegetables that have carbs, do any of the carbs dissipate during cooking?
I know it's mostly just the vitamins and minerals.
Thank you.
And I see Alana's question about tannins in tea. I forgot red wine, but yes, it's the same concept. So yes.
And this is only when you're taking the vitamin.
No. Actually.
So if I drink tea throughout the day, is that absorbing any vitamins and nutrients that I'm getting? I mean, is tea sucking the life out of me?
And you mean black tea? I want to specify.
It's actually, there is some in regular tea as well. Not like, I don't think there's any in green tea, but the just regular like iced tea that you typically.
But that's all black tea as well.
Right, but so there might be a little bit in green tea. Actually, I would have to look.
But not in herb tea like mint tea or things
No.
like that. Okay.
I'm talking about kind of your typical. I love sweet tea, so that yes. Now, Emily, to your question, if you're sipping it throughout the day, like you're not chugging it, that's all you drink, then it's probably not. But it does interfere with absorption of foods, not just of vitamins, because it interferes with the vitamins. So when your body is taking the vitamins out of the food and then trying to absorb them, the tannins will block it.
So it's just red wine, right? I'm asking for Elaine.
Yes.
I'm picking out Elaine because she got me drunk on a bottle of wine a couple of weeks ago. It was white, wasn't it? Are we safe, Elaine? Okay, good.
But yes, that is one that people don't typically know, so I wanted to throw it on there.
No, that's really good. I always, when I go out to dinner, I always order a glass of iced tea with no sugar or whatever. I think I'm doing a good thing, but
if I remember correctly, I mean it's a decent amount that causes it to just not be absorbed at all, but you are probably getting less than you would if you, say, had a great salad but drank 2 glasses of tea or something. So just watch it, and it's I don't believe it's a long-lasting effect, so I don't think it's something that it's gonna go away in a couple of hours. You're not gonna, so maybe just drink water with meals, save your tea for other times.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, I know that sodas have acid. Is that also tannins, like colas?
No. I've only ever heard tea and red wine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding protein. So there's a diet that a lot of people with SMA that has to do with protein. And I realize you said you don't have a whole lot of time to get into this because it's a whole bag of bones, but I don't know is it no protein diet or is it a full all protein diet?
It is a specific type of protein.
Wait,
So
hold on.
I've been meaning to do more research into, it's called the amino acid diet, and I've been meaning to do more research into it and have not had time because I was actually asked by Peg Nosick, who's my boss, that we both need to look into that because we're both curious about it. But it's basically, I know it's all plant-based, but I believe it even goes deeper than that. I think it's certain types of amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. That's all you eat are certain types, among other things, vegetables, etc. But your proteins all have to come from a certain set of amino acids. The theory is it's some sort of the protein in the muscle that we're lacking comes from those amino acids. It's my general understanding. Again, I haven't done a lot of research in this. I looked briefly once and didn't find a ton. People whose kids use it swear by it. I don't know a lot of adults that use it. I believe Corey uses it, or did, like her tube feeds are that. She eats a regular diet, but tube feeds are that. So I can get back to you on that question once
It sounds like it might be beneficial to arrange something about the amino acid diet, like just a whole workshop on that. And I bet we can find people who know it well.
Yes.
Yeah, I would be fascinated by it. I don't know if anybody else here, would anybody else be interested in learning more about that amino acid diet? Raise your hand and I'll figure something out about that. Yeah. I think we could get a pretty good group of people together on that. So yeah, I'm seeing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that say they want to know right just out of this hangout. So it's interesting. It's I don't know. It's very weird how kids are treated so differently than us adults. Like we totally missed. Like we're totally ignored with something. You know what I mean? I just find it. I find it in a way. I'm like, is it hocus pocus or is it real? You know, is it real stuff? You know, but it just feels like it's the whole other world of weird. I don't know. So okay, all right. Well, that's good. What's next?
I believe Alana was going to lead a roundtable on weight measurement.
Yeah. Do you have a slide for that, Rachel?
I do.
Rachel, your voice is fading a lot. Maybe your microphone is farther away. I'm not sure.
I saw some hands up from Elaine and Karen. I'm lowering them because I'm not sure if that was just you didn't lower them from before, but I'm just lowering them and then you can re-raise them after they're done talking about weight measurement. Oh, weight measurement.
Okay, was there another slide that actually has the different types of weighing?
It does, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Now I'm going to have Rachel talk about most of these things, but I wanted to talk a little bit about creative strategies for people to weigh themselves. It's easier for smaller people usually. For example, I just have my assistant pick me up and somebody else look at the scale and then put me down, and we weigh the difference between me and my assistant and figure out what my weight is. Because I'm so small, I also weigh my clothing and my body jacket because those all together weigh 3 or 4 pounds. So I try to get as accurate as I can. I would love for a minute for people to tell us how each of you weigh yourself. Can someone tell us how you're doing it? Or if you're not doing it, that would be great. Or you
I use the Alana method.
okay.
Can you unshare the screen for a second just so we can see everybody? Rachel, do you mind? Okay, thanks. All right. I got stuck. There's a place, the pharmacy has one of these like blood pressure monitors, and it also has a scale built into it. I used to have people lift me and put me on that seat. It's like a sitting scale, and I used to get my weight done there. But it's just such a pain in the ass. I can't do it anymore. And I'm starting to research putting a digital scale on my Hoyer lift. But I just got this Hoyer lift and I've never used it before. It's not my ceiling lift, it's just a Hoyer. And so I have to kind of research that. But I have a friend that did a digital scale on his Hoyer, and he's gonna come and help me figure it out for the house, but it won't be for a while. But, what about you, Christy?
When I go for like wheelchair repairs or wheelchair clinic, I just do the old-fashioned method where I'll get on with my wheelchair, and then they will help me transfer and weigh the wheelchair, then to subtract the difference. But I need to do it every 4 or 5 years.
Anybody else have any ideas or things that they do? Elaine, don't you have a scale at your place?
Yeah, I've got a scale on the Hoyer lift, like what you're looking into.
Yeah, and you could probably help me with that too. And you've also offered to let me come over and get weighed.
Yes, you can come over and get weighed.
I don't know how to do that, but I might do it.
Bring somebody. So somebody to hook you up to the Hoyer lift. It's zeroed out with the sling on it. So whenever I'm on it and we turn the scale on, it's what I weigh. And I always weigh right after a shower, so I'm naked.
Yeehaw!
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Anybody else have any weight loss tips or tricks?
Rachel, you want to go through some of the different ways of measuring on that slide that you have there?
I will also speak really briefly to my weight, technique. So I really need to do this, but I work at a rehab hospital, and we have actually, I'm trying to go back, hold on. We have this awesome scale or something similar to what I have pictured. And so most wheelchair scales don't fit a mid-wheel drive in my experience because 2 of the wheels hang off. This one does, so I really need to sneak up there and use it because I haven't been waiting forever because it's just a pain. So these are some other, not necessarily weight measurement. The first 2 aren't, the rest are. BMI, I'm sure you've all heard a ton about BMI. It's just your weight in kilograms over your height in meters squared. It's used to determine obesity or also just malnutrition. There's a lot of controversy regarding it. It was meant to be used on a population level, not an individual level. So for a population level, it's really great at looking at large amounts of people and determining in general if they are obese, overweight, underweight, etc. For individuals, not so much. The biggest example, which applies for us and bodybuilders, is that muscle weighs a lot. So we're pretty much probably gonna always be underweight, according to BMI, because we don't have muscle mass. Bodybuilders are gonna be overweight, even if they're extremely healthy and at a healthy weight for them because of muscle. There's also whole populations, like Asians, for instance, that it just doesn't work with. And don't ask me the reason why, because off the top of my head, I don't remember. But we already discussed BMR, so I'll skip that. Waist circumference, really simple, but an excellent indicator of your risk for certain diseases, such as diabetes, heart disease, those kind of things. So you measure kind of, it's like at your belly button. I had these on here. I took them off because I was worried about time. So, but any Google search will lead you to these. But I was just going to kind of give you the advantages of each. For us, waist circumference is probably a good measure, just because, that's generally fairly average, more so than our weight. Waist to hip ratio is exactly what it sounds like. So weight that gathers around your hips is not as, quote, dangerous as weight that gathers around your waist. So for instance, like women, it's usually around your hips. Men, it's around your waist. But men tend to have more heart disease. So this is a good measurement of men and women. And all of these, waist circumference, waist hip ratio, body adiposity index, these are all going to have different cutoff points for men and women. So you're going to have to kind of look those up to see where you're on track. Waist hip ratio, again, will kind of predict your risk for heart disease, diabetes, I believe stroke. Waist hip ratio does a little bit more than waist circumference alone.
I have there's a question in the chat about how does our SMA belly or just the MD belly play into the waist measurements? And I also want to talk about like also ass spread as well. Like we sit down and our ass, well, I don't know about everybody else's ass, but many of the asses I've seen have like they're wide because they're just the way we're shaped. We're just shaped super weird. So how do these measurements play into that?
Well, I wanted to make note that a lot of people are pretty freaked out about their quote SMA belly or their hip spread. These are more skeletal issues.
Yes.
These are less about fat. I mean, people have a lordosis after sitting in their chair, so the back of their spine curves in and their belly curves out. When you sit in a wheelchair a long time, this is not neuromuscular disease specific. Anybody who's a long-term wheelchair user, hips dislocate, hips spread. People think it's a fat thing and they feel like they should be dieting. It's really a skeletal issue.
Yes.
Good point.
It really is.
Does it affect the measurements though? Does it make a difference with like doing like a waist measurement or
the waist I would say no, because like Alana just said, some of it is our lungs, and my understanding, your diaphragm muscle, because the SMA belly is from using your diaphragm to breathe because it's your strongest muscle. So it's not necessarily, again, it's a positioning of our organs sort of issue, organ, skeleton, all that. So I honestly don't think with waist circumference or hip, I would think the biggest worry, again, would just be muscle, because with hips, most people have a decent amount of muscle in their butt. So we don't, because we don't have muscle. I personally have no butt, so for me,
lucky?
he is accurate in the butt. That's kind of a family genetic thing for me. But to me, these are relatively accurate for us. Again, none of them are going to be perfect because they're just not. So the body adiposity index it's a calculation, and it doesn't use your weight at all. It uses several other things. It's height, and why can I not think of this? I should have wrote this down because I'm brain dead on Wednesdays. But so there is an advantage to that because you're not using weight, which again for us, where we don't have muscle, that's a huge advantage if it doesn't use weight to calculate. Calipers and body fat, these calipers they're really cool. But and I'm not sure, these should be pretty accurate for us because your fat deposits in certain places, and you can use the calipers to measure just the fat and not the muscle or the bone. So those are really cool. Not always easily, some of these are just not easily accessible. Like hydrostatic weighing, for instance, very expensive and not very common. You literally get in water, and it's your basic science volume displacement principle. So whatever water pushes over when you're shoved under they use that to calculate your weight. It's very, very, very accurate. There is also, I did not put on here, but for the study that I was just a part of, they didn't use it, but they wrote a grant to try to get a larger scale of that study, and they're using DEXA, the bone density machine, that it can also measure fat. So but again, something that's a little more expensive, you would have to have a doctor's order, that kind of thing. So for us, the simplest I would say is the waist circumference or the waist hip ratio, just because we can do it at home more than likely. It's some difficulty, obviously, getting the tape measure around. If we did this again in that study I was a part of, they did waist circumference. And as far as height, I know several of you have mentioned not being able to do your height. The most accurate for most of us is going to be kind of the tip of the middle finger to the elbow, added to the elbow to the shoulder, all the way across, or same with legs and torso. So that's about the closest we're gonna get to do contractures. So,
Okay, next on our agenda, unless anybody has questions about weight measurement. I'm sorry.
I saw one on, I'm gonna address that at the end, Christy. I see it's any increased nutrients for a broken bone, but I will address that after we get through. We don't have a ton left, so I will get to that.
Well, our next item on the agenda is about supplements, and we didn't want to recommend supplements to people here or say you should or shouldn't do them. I thought it was be more useful to find out how people would make decisions about supplements. What are people taking? Why did you decide to take them? Why are you not taking supplements? I thought that might be helpful for us to do that. Does someone want to start? Talk about what you're doing. Is anybody taking supplements?
I am.
Who is that?
Christy?
Oh, okay, hi, Christy.
Hello.
What are you taking and why?
I'm taking 5,000 vitamin D for osteoporosis.
Okay. And was that recommended to you by a doctor or?
Yes, it was following lab work, and it showed that it was low. Because I'm on the actual osteoporosis medication, you know, I've been immobile since 1978. I've been in a wheelchair since 1978. And of course, you know, the bones and just everything that goes with that, more brittle bone. I do have a break right now. It's the first break ever. But I am taking the osteoporosis medication with the 5,000 vitamin D.
Anybody else taking supplements? Nobody. And I'm wondering if people aren't taking supplements, how did you choose not to? Or is that just, I see Elizabeth's taking vitamin D and a multivitamin. And,
I think I sometimes take a multivitamin if I remember, but I also take a B-complex liquid that I just put right in my orange juice in the morning. So that works out pretty good.
cool. And how did you choose that, TK?
How did I choose it? I just do looking around on Amazon, and I found what looked like a reasonable product. And,
How did you decide that you needed to take it?
I was undergoing a lot of stress at the time, and I just felt it would help with anxiety and depression, and I didn't want to go on any kind of medication, so I did that instead.
Oh, okay.
I also take vitamin D, and I sometimes take extra vitamin C when I feel like I'm maybe a cold coming on. That's about it.
Okay.
And I apologize for leaving and coming back.
And it looks like Karen's taking vitamin D, also due to a lab study indicating a deficient level. Okay. And Suzanne is taking vitamin D and calcium because of low vitamin D. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people are taking vitamin D. Crystal posted, I'm on potassium, magnesium, L-carnitine, coenzyme Q10, alpha lipoic acid, iron infusions, vitamin D, B2, and B12. And I imagine, Crystal, you have a lot of medical supervision around what you're taking right now, especially since you're in the hospital.
Yeah, I also have a metabolic disease of the muscles, so a lot of this is standardly prescribed to anybody with mitochondrial myopathy.
Right, so that makes sense. Yeah, I'm doing vitamin D and I take iron because of anemia. But I made a pretty conscious decision not to do a lot of supplements and try to get as much as I can from the food I'm eating. And I have my blood checked annually with my annually with my general practitioner doctor, my primary care doctor, to just do a once a year overview and meeting all my nutrient needs. And as little as I eat, it's surprising that I am actually doing fairly well on that. I think almost everybody, because we don't get enough sun, and we're not an agrarian society, we're not out in the fields farming, so most of us don't get enough sunlight, which is why most of us really need to be on vitamin D, which is supposed to also help our autoimmune system. So I don't think that's an unusual supplement for anybody to take. Do you have questions about supplements, pros and cons? Something that maybe Rachel could answer?
Does liquid vitamin D need to be refrigerated?
I do not know the answer to that. Yeah, I've never heard that. So I would look it up, ask a pharmacist, would probably know.
Because my doctor did recommend it. I never did it. I got some, and I'm not really good at following any kind of medical advice. I just sort of like, if it's slightly inconvenient, I just tend to blow it off. You know?
Yeah.
But I do think, like Alana was saying, that it could be that the entire culture is under vitamin D, if that's a word.
North America pretty much is. If you live in North America, you're kind of a vampire. So we just stay indoors all the time and we don't get enough vitamin D. Honestly, interestingly enough, for the average North American, 10 to 15 minutes a day in the sun is actually all you need to get the vitamin D that your body needs. So if you can handle it and it's not horribly cold where you live, you should make sure you're getting enough calcium and get your butt outside. So I don't take my own advice on that. So I sit at a desk all day. But
Bad clone.
I call it my hug. I go outside every day. It feels like the sun is giving me a hug.
that's
When I go out, I spend a lot of time in the sun just because I love how it feels. So, but Texas is good for that, Rachel. You need to
that is true.
you need to embrace it.
That is true.
Crystal, you had your hand up.
Yeah, it's just does anyone
Does anybody have issues with absorption of vitamins or just nutrition in general?
Do you want to do a hand raise for that one?
I don't know. I will tell you though, I noticed that like my boyfriend, he sometimes gives me lots of vitamins. I don't know if that, I think I kind of want to know about frequency. Like, is it possible to just take a handful of vitamins once every few weeks and get any kind of help, or do you need to like build it up in your system? Because my boyfriend and I have constantly this argument about like he'll be like, take a vitamin D today, and then the next day, like 3 days later, take some iron. And I'm like, this is not doing anything. And then on top of it, he loves to give me shit with magnesium in it, which makes me poop. And there's been many times where I've had serious issues because he'll be dosing me with magnesium. Don't let your boyfriend give you vitamins. That's my recommendation.
So I will say, so there are fat soluble vitamins like the A, D, E, and K, like I said, that your body can store certain amounts of. It's because they're stored in your fat. So you can store up those vitamins. Same with certain minerals, iron being the one that comes to mind. You do have iron stores. Mine are low, so I really do need to take a multivitamin. I found that out earlier this year, and I'm afraid it will constipate me. So, the fear. But, so.
You're gonna have some of everyone's magnesium.
There you go. But the water-soluble vitamins, which are your C, B complex, I'm trying to think of all my vitamins. Those are being water soluble. No, they're flushed out of your system every day. So if you're taking vitamin C and so for instance, for a while, I remember when I was getting my undergrad nutrition, my dad was taking like these massive amounts of vitamin C, and I would come home on breaks, and I was just like, "You're just peeing it all out. Like, you're just peeing out all that money." So, so some of those you literally do. You just pee them out every day. So I would say, and the stores are only used when you've depleted the ones that are. Good night, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming, Elizabeth.
You can store a little, but you will use your just kind of the ones. There's certain parts of the fat that it stores it in, and it will use that kind of first layer, if you will, first before it goes to the stores. So you really do need to get them all consistently every day.
So I wanted to move on. We just have a few minutes left. The next item on our agenda is about food preparation. Of course, one of the most basic questions is, do you know how to cook? Do we have people in the group who already know how to cook? You want to do a hand raise? Yeah. It seems like a lot of people here do know how to cook, right? And I just want to remind people that, especially when you're working with other people, YouTube is a pretty new, modern, fancy way to teach people how to cook if you're working with an assistant who is unfamiliar with how to stir a certain way or how to chop things a certain way. One of the biggest problems people with disabilities have is just limited resources to cook. Limited time, maybe limited energy. Many of us are not able to, we get fatigued from chopping vegetables or grating things or even pulling things out of the refrigerator. Even opening a can be a very difficult task. Opening a jar, we have to plan ahead. I remember when Nancy and I used to be roommates, one of the assignments was she would put a bunch of jars on the kitchen table for my attendants to open. Because she couldn't open them and I couldn't open them. But we had to have somebody pop the seal. So that was one of my attendants' chores, was to open our jars and things like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to make dinner, that kind of thing. I think we don't have a whole lot of time to get into it, but I would love to hear from people what is their biggest barrier around preparing the food that they want to eat. What are people really struggling with? Do you have enough assistance at home? Or are you able to do things yourself? Do you have tools that you like?
I certainly have enough PA help. I have here in New York City, I have 2 12-hour shifts per day, so having help is not the problem. I don't really have any problems because whatever I need to do, I just talk my PAs through it and they gradually get with the program. I can make almost any food TK friendly, and I use things like graters. I use food processors, which is different than a Vitamix or a blender. And just really, I teach my helpers how to just really finely chop things. Sometimes they actually chop stuff too much, and it ends up almost like a paste, which, it doesn't. I like to have the right balance of enough shape to a salad that you feel like you're still eating a salad, as opposed to drinking a salad. I mean, I could certainly get the same nutrients, throw it in the blender, and drink it down faster, but it's not as either satisfying or what have you, and I don't go that way. So.
Yeah, good. Christy says, she has a hard time with chopping and lifting boiling water for soup. Like lifting hot pans and things is very difficult for people. I have one friend who uses a hot water dispenser with a spout. So it's always set up, it's always turned on, and there's just a little lever she pulls. that might be something that's helpful for you. I don't know. I also see Christy saying that she cooks all her own food and freezes. So you do stuff ahead of time, Christy, so that you have energy. Yeah, I often have one attendant who's getting me up in the morning chop vegetables for my night attendant who then helps saute them. Or I'm sitting on the bedpan or something. Or you're in the bath or whatever you're doing. It's often a good time to have your assistant chop things, even if they're the one who really doesn't know how to cook. You might just have them do some of the prep for the next assistant who's helping you. I think it's harder for people who don't have an assistant helping them. And there also is issues around how do you teach assistants to do things the way you want. Like TK has a lot of techniques that he uses, but I'm sure he spends a lot of time working with each assistant to make sure they know what it means when he says chop that into small pieces, because everybody interprets that differently. I mean, I wish we had more time to talk about that, all of these techniques, but I think we could continue this conversation on food strategies, food prep strategies in the Facebook group. If people have ideas, it would be really good to share. Rachel, you want to talk about the resources that we have before we wrap up? We've got about 4 minutes. Can't hear you, Rachel.
Can you hear me now? What about now?
Your voice is very, very faint.
Yeah, it's very, very faint.
Okay, how's that? Okay. Apparently I turned my mic down. Yes, your discussion just now prompted me to add a resource. So I'm gonna show these right now. But these are just a couple recipes. Alana started a sharing recipes page where we can all share kind of some NMD friendly recipes. And we also have the super tracker, which TK was nice enough to share during the Hangout, but it's also here. And again, these slides will be on that last bullet. There's the Dropbox that Emily created today. Jen Onsom, she sent Emily some resources she got from a dietitian today. So it prompted us to start the Dropbox. So any kind of files that you want to add, feel free to, get those there. It's awesome. We can all share our knowledge. Again, the Foodpedia is part of the super tracker. So Go Woman is the study that I was a part of. This is a blog that was written by either staff or women who were beta testers for the project. I love this blog, and I don't just say this because I helped work on it and I wrote some of them. It's awesome. You should really check it out. There's also some of the materials that we used in the project that are there, and the link below I just added. It's a PDF of adaptive kitchen items, and there's the items are on there, but there's also some amazing YouTube videos that I found when I was updating this file not too long ago. There was the material I discussed with Alana, putting the link. The program that we did was based off the diabetes prevention program, which is kind of it's a CDC accredited program. I didn't put it, we had a whole discussion at work after Alana and I talked about not offering it to people with disabilities, only because we don't want them to seek it out and fail. So it's not created for people with disabilities, but it was used. We adapted it. So if Go Woman ever goes viral, I will let you all know. And if it's done for men, I will also let you all know, and you can use it then. But again, these will be in the Dropbox, so you don't have to scribble.
What that is? The Go Woman blog is what you're talking about?
Yeah, so the blog, the Go Woman is the name of the intervention that we ran. So the blog was based off of women's experiences and also tips for adaptive cooking, weight measurement, adaptive just all of that. So it's great. And then some of the materials are here.
Oh, okay. She's actually asking, what is a pot filler sink? Somebody
Oh,
posted.
yeah. I wondered that too.
Suzanne, you posted this, and people don't know what that means.
It's like a small sink, and then it has like kind of the faucet kind of bends. It has an elbow in it, so it bends all the way to the sink, and it fills up the pan, so I don't have to carry the hot water across the whole entire kitchen. I can just have it there.
It reaches the stove?
Yeah, it reaches the stove.
Oh,
So it's just like a bar sink kind of.
okay. Nice.
Nice.
We need to wrap it up, you guys. It's late.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. I want to just let you know that in 2 weeks, we're going to have another hangout on traveling with a focus on international travel. Carol Zoom, who's been to over 25 countries, and Corey Lee, who's been to like 18 or so, 18, 19 countries. They're gonna share their trips, tips, and tricks of travel, and talk about that whole thing. And then so they're gonna come and they'll be here the fourth Wednesday of the month. So and we pretty much are going to stick on the schedule of the second and fourth Wednesdays of each month. So and so, I'm sorry.
I just want to let everybody know we're posting the slides and everything in that Dropbox. So, and we will post all the links to everything on this group's the Facebook page for this.
I also recommend, if you haven't joined, join Food for a Week or Two, which is Alana's little. Would you want to just quickly, Alana, just describe the group on Facebook,
Sure.
and kind of the goals of it and who can join?
Yeah, I tried to start a little social group, support group, information sharing without weird dogma about food or diet, no fat shaming, no body shaming, but just a place to share recipes, share ideas, ask questions about food preparation. I often use it as a place to say, hey, this week I'm going to try and meet this food goal. Does anybody want to join me? And so we spend a little bit of time. The idea philosophically is to be obsessive about food once in a while, just to make sure we stay on track, but not be obsessive about it all the time. So we try and support each other. So if you're interested in that, you can private message me.
I also linked to the group in the chat, and I just to let you guys know there's over 700 members. And is it just for NMD, or is it for anyone with a disability or anyone in general?
There are not 700 members in my group.
There is. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I read it wrong. I saw 7. I saw 2. I don't know why I thought I saw another number. 72. There's 72.
It's a small group, and it is for anybody with or without a disability. Just anybody who has a food goal that they want support reaching.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough, Rachel and Alana. I'm so glad that you guys volunteered to help me with this tonight. If it were just me, everyone would be spending tons of money on Jenny Craig, and that would just be a bad experience for all of you. So, so I really appreciate it, and thank you for coming. And like I said, hopefully we can keep this discussion going in the future and maybe have another one of these hangouts on this topic. So
thank you, everybody.
Have a great night. Thank you for everything. Bye.